Welcome back to the Baschamania podcast, episode 216, the one where Willie and I recap the 2023 CKLV Tournament as we go weight by weight, talk team race, and even have 2023 CKLV champ at 125 pounds, Nico Provo, on the show. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Attack, A-T-A-C, Attack. Video game stats meets real-life training. What's your attack rating? Put in the work to get closer to your goals today. Download the Attack app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store so you can take advantage of an incredible training and fitness app that is truly like having a personal trainer and a video game right in your pocket in one app. Download the Attack app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store today, and be sure to follow them on social. It's atac.app. This episode is also brought to you by Beat the Streets. Beat the Streets makes a lifelong impact on more than 2,500 New York City boys and girls through their free year-round programs. You can help thousands of underserved New York City youth experience the life-changing power of wrestling with a tax-deductible donation to Beat the Streets, which has set a $250,000 goal for its year-end campaign. Make your donation today as you're making those year-end contributions. Make a donation today at btsny.org. That's btsny.org. All right, let's dive into today's show. We are back. We told you we'd be back. Bash the Brain. Somebody tweeted us, said they were going to cry if we didn't do a recap show. So for our one fan, we're doing a recap show.
I was so ready to go immediately. I kind of wanted to do it that night. I kind of wanted to do it all day yesterday. But I was exhausted after this weekend.
Same. And between football and everything else, the rest of the weekend, it was a great, by the way, I hope everybody listening took my Washington plus 9.5 play. Shout out me. I hope everyone took that play.
Yeah, dude, stupid line. It was a stupid line.
Yeah, that was so dumb. They should have never. But yeah, a lot of football this weekend. So, and it was nice. As much as I like doing a show right after an event, I also like letting the dust settle and going back, like the Michigan stat we were just talking about. I don't see some of these things in real time until I'm going back and kind of looking at the brackets and you kind of draw some conclusions and connect some dots.
Yeah, it's tough. You're right. Letting the dust settle a little bit does help. It helps. It helps. I think it helps the audience, but it also helps us prepare. But every year at like NCAAs, I'm like, oh, let's do a round recap. But first of all, you're exhausted from watching it all day. And second of all the people that would watch the show, they watched it all day. So they're exhausted too. I mean, it's just right. Letting the dust settle is right.
Yeah. So, and you know what? Some people are also busy. And I think what they do, or even like the diehards, is they go back the next day or so and they watch more matches. They're not even really ready to recap it yet. Because especially like a tournament like this, I was tweeting out right out of the gate. I really try to limit my flow slander, but it drove me nuts that we don't have like a flow zone or something where when you do have so many good round of 16 matches, and I had said I was DMing some of the guys like Spay and trying to understand like why they don't do it. And I said like I could literally go on Zoom right now, share my screen, pull up a match and commentate live. Like I think there's a way to do it where somebody, let's say like you, or even a Piles or whoever, like who has, who can pinpoint, hey, this match is going to be interesting. Let's pull this up. Because the average fan, even me watching a round of 16 while I'm working and trying to bounce back and forth between 8 mats, it's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's, this tournament sort of demanded it, how much craziness was going on all over the place and how many great matches were going on. So things like the US Open, certain tournaments kind of demand it, and I would imagine with the feedback they got that going forward, if the CKLV is as big and badass as it was this year, I bet you they would do it next year. They have a lot of people on the ground to do it. So I think they'll listen to the fans.
Yeah, no, but overall, I mean, the wrestling lived up to all the hype. We're going to go weight by weight and kind of go through it. We're going to have on a guest with us who I think might be the wrestler of the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'll get your opinion, but yeah, it was a very interesting weekend. A lot of interesting matchups. You said a lot on the preview show. We're going to learn a lot, and I feel like coming away from this, we did learn a lot.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling. I feel like wrestling's in a really good place right now. College wrestling. I mean, our international team is in a really good place too. Perhaps it's best ever, but college wrestling too. It is a glorious, glorious thing when you don't know what's going to happen, right? If you know what's going to happen, that's why sometimes like some of the high school tournaments, I'm like, yeah, even the big ones, maybe not Fargo, maybe not Super 32, but there's some bigger tournaments. It's like, yeah, day one, what happened? I'm like, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the pecking order, right? And it pretty much played out like that. And if you have college tournaments that are that way, it's kind of like ho hum. But wrestling's at a really good place right now where there's a lot of parity and almost anything can happen. And for that reason, you're learning stuff like every round of the tournament. Oh my God, Meyer Shapiro is going to win freaking everything in the world. He's going to be the next four-timer. He just majored Bryce Andonian. Oh my God, wait, he probably is not going to play. Oh my God,
that was a crazy roller coaster with 57. That turned out as chalk as could be.
It's incredible that the deepest weight, when the dust settled, it was pretty much the rankings.
Yeah, it was pretty dang close. I mean, after Shapiro took out Andonian, and then Cardenas kind of carried that, and then it was a 1-4, 2-6 in the semis, and then the one beat the two. But we can't get ahead of ourselves. We gotta wait for 57. We gotta go weight by weight, or we're gonna be all over the place.
All right, well, let me say this though, just to tease it to the fans. You said might be the wrestler of the week. I would say if there was a wrestler of the week, I say there's two guys, wrestler of the week, either Nico Provo or Younger Bastida. Those would be my two.
I'm going Nico Provo, and he's who we're going to have on the show here in a couple of minutes. I'm going Nico because Younger looked great, but his big win to me wasn't Davison. Michigan looked like dog doo-doo this weekend. His big...
Did they? Well, yeah, I guess they did underperform.
Michigan? Well, the stat I told you before the show is that they did not end a single weight on an official win. They lost every single medal round match. D'Agostino lost for 5th. Luan lost for 5th. Amin lost for 3rd. Bullock lost for 5th.
Well, that means that...
And Davison lost in the finals.
If they lost all their medal matches, then that means all 10 of their guys lost their last match.
Correct. The only technical win in there is Shane Griffith won a couple backside matches, but then medical forfeited.
Right. Shane medical forfeited. D'Agostino medical forfeited after semis. So, but technically, yeah. That's crazy.
Correct.
That's a crazy stat.
It is. That's why I'm saying with an official win. Kind of a caveat there, but if you're looking at like from a placement points and everything else, it's crazy.
I would say Nico is the wrestler of the week. I mean, he put himself in the conversation. Amazingly, he put himself in the conversation for the number one spot. I mean, I don't know if I would rank him there quite yet, but
he's one. He's
certainly a discussion.
He's my one. And I had said this. He's one because he got 4 ranked wins this week. Your current one, Jacob Camacho, has 1 ranked win, Matt Ramos, who Provo also took out this weekend. Now, Camacho has a couple more bonus wins, but, I mean, how is the undefeated guy who has 4 ranked wins not number one over the guy with 1 ranked win?
Well, I'll tell you what the rationale would be. The rationale would be body of work and what he did last year, what he didn't do last year. But what the crazy part about it is that Matt Ramos beat Spencer Lee, right? And that was always the rationale for Richie Figg's number one. And now it turns out like Ramos has like 4 or 5 losses. Now it turns out like Richie Figg's, you can't say Richie Figg's deserves number one because he beat Matt Ramos because 4 other guys beat Matt Ramos.
if you don't have a match after the first month of wrestling, I don't think you should be in the rankings.
Well, I was telling you, I thought I had something dawned on me, and it's probably a little nuanced and probably a little complicated, and I don't know how it would go over, but it's almost like this season, and most seasons, the results don't like beg for this, but right now it's begging for it. Right now, some of the weights are begging for you to just say, wipe out everything that ever happened until this season. Because
and somebody brought up when I was talking to a couple people about rankings, because I'm not a rankings guy. So I just kind of look at it on the surface and I'm like, well, somebody else brought up Camacho and Camacho didn't wrestle last year.
No. Nope.
So, Figs is an interesting one, but again, Figs hasn't wrestled. You got Camacho, who doesn't have as many ranked wins as Nico. Nico's undefeated. For me, I'm making Nico 1, and then I'd say Camacho 2. I think at this point, Ramos has 4 or 5 losses. He's out of the top 5. His 1 win over Spencer Lee does not overtake the 4 or 5 losses he now has on the air.
And I came into this season saying, like, preseason stuff before we even wrestled a match. And I was saying, just because Matt Ramos beat Spencer Lee does not mean that he's a shoo-in to win it or a shoo-in to be a finalist. If you look at all the steps that he took throughout,
yeah,
it was overtime, ride out, late minute, last match, heroics. I mean, there was a lot of nail biters in there.
Yep. Yeah, the other thing I was going to make a comment about was, I think it was a different weight. Maybe it was about D'Agostino, how D'Agostino's loss on the record should not. I forgot how the rankings work. Like if an injury default or something like that doesn't happen, that doesn't count. But with D'Agostino, he was down 8-1 with a minute to go, and then he defaulted out. So I think that's a true Brett Unger owned that match. I don't think that's like I don't know how the heck they're doing injury defaults this year. But
if I was a ranker, and I listen, I don't care.
If.
Well, if I did college rankings. And in high school, I do this. But in high school, it happens way less frequently. Isn't that something? High schoolers default out way less than college guys. Let that rattle around in your brain a little bit. How does that make sense? But I would certainly matches that last, like the Roman Bravo Young DeSanto match lasted long into that match. Unger D'Agostino lasted long into that match. You know who was winning, right? It was right there. It happened. You certainly count that. And then I would even count default losses. I mean, he medically defaulted. Who did D'Agostino? To me, D'Agostino defaulted to Caleb Smith. I have Caleb Smith higher. Medical forfeit to Jory Volk counts as a win for Jory. I don't care. You had the opportunity. There was 2 people there, and 1 showed up.
By the way, a lot of wrestling is health and timing. It's health and timing.
Yeah, I don't care. I'd put Volk ahead of him. I mean, look at last year. Last year, D'Agostino's. This is no hate for D'Agostino or Michigan. This is a very frustrating process. Look at last year, D'Agostino's results, and all the forfeits and all the matches he skipped. And it was the same thing. Killian Cardinale. I have no ill will to Cardinale. He's a gangster. That dude is tough as hell. But he sat out. He forfeited. Didn't wrestle Big 12s. He got punished in the seats for it, but he should have. And I would punish D'Agostino for the same reason.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Where do you put Nico in your crystal ball? See, now that's more interesting, crystal ball, because you can put Figs 1. You could do these things.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think for Nico after this weekend? Again, wide open weight, and it lived up to that expectation of anything could happen.
You know what? I was indeed working on crystal ball. And I had it right in front of me, but it's on my other laptop. Let's see if I can get into it on this computer. So right now I have Nico 6th I have Nico 6th in the crystal ball. I'm not a knee-jerk guy. I like to let him ascend, right? And descend, right? So I build you up slow, I take you out slow. And to me, like uh guys like Patrick McKee and Michael DiAugustino, I had feelings like, I don't know, man, they might be banged up, they might be over the hill. I don't know, but I kept him in, right? Patrick McKee loses to Tanner Jordan, I keep him in. Well, now Tanner Jordan has beaten some guys, and I feel like guys like Tanner Jordan and Provo should go ahead of McKee. And so it was a slow process in pulling McKee out, but over time, I think it's justified. And now I'm going to have Nico somewhere in the 4, 5, 6 range. I didn't finalize him yet, but I'll have him 4, 5, 6. And, if he continues to go unscathed, he can move up,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's interesting too.
Think 125 is 125 as a whole has been people eating each other, right? They've been cannibalizing each other, and there hasn't been a whole lot of consistency. So it's almost no fault. Nico has put himself in a position to be considered an upper echelon of 125. Now keep defending that right.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. We're going to have Nico here join in a minute. I just texted him the link to join. One of the things that I want to mention about Nico, you kind of mentioned it on the last show. Wrestling this tournament is an amazing opportunity, especially for non-Big Ten guys, to get ranked wins.
Yeah.
And Nico, who wrestles for Stanford in the Pac-12, just did an amazing thing getting some ranked wins.
He did, and you gotta wonder. I mean, they were another administration's recruits, but Chris Ayers has obviously took the torch and is doing the right thing. He had Provo clicking. Lorenzo Norman had a great tournament. Tyler Knox, right? So Chris Ayers off and running in Palo Alto. And another thing, the thing that I really want to ask Nico Provo is, I said,
Nico Provo's right here, so you go ahead and ask him.
Here?
What's going on?
We got Nico.
What's up, Nico?
My man. What's up?
My man. Just first things first, like general thoughts on your approach to the tournament. You knew what the field was. You knew it was dynamite. What were your feelings coming into the tournament?
I was super excited personally, and I know a bunch of our guys were. I heard you guys talking about, the couple guys that showed out, but we were all super excited. I mean, it's one of those things early in the season, which I think is great for us to be able to compete there. I mentioned before we didn't compete last year, which I thought was kind of got us in the end when we're wrestling the really good, tough guys. We need to get those Big Ten guys and the really strong Big 12 guys, especially when we have a different kind of schedule earlier in the year. So it was good. It was exciting, especially for me. I was really excited. I saw the field, obviously. Little upset some guys weren't there, but I knew like based on this tournament, I knew it was going to be good. Whoever came out on top was gonna be in contention for number one. So
yeah. Let me ask you this, because I sort of talked about some of the guys that were in red shirt last year, or the guys that were in freshmen last year. And I go all the way back to like an example, like Joey Dance, his red shirt freshman season. Joey Dance came out, or his true freshman season. He came out of high school. He was like in the finals of Super 32 every year, right? Just a mega recruit for Virginia Tech. And he comes out, and like his first half of the year, actually the whole season was kind of like, not bad. And then he goes to NCAAs and he lands on the podium. And I noticed like your season last year was good, but maybe not. Like you had 2 close losses at NCAAs, or guys like that one Fargo, Dylan Fishback, right? Or how about the guy at Iowa State, Jacob Frost, that just made the finals? These guys had good, not great, first years. What do you chalk it up to, like your level jump from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's a long season, and the
Yeah.
NCAA season is really long, and I think the 125 isn't or wasn't the easiest weight cut last year, and I think it just got really long, and I think my mentality was kind of off, but now I have that year under my belt of maturity, and I had a great shirt, but it's a lot different, right? Wrestling every weekend, and wrestling tough guys every weekend, making weight, and the 2-hour weigh-ins for duels is super helpful this year too. But it's just maturing for me is what it can chalk it up to. I think for those other guys too you mentioned, it's really important to get even a redshirt year. You don't compete as much, but it's still a good you get a good gauge. But like I said, when you're the guy, you're wrestling all the time. So understanding that, and I think being able to communicate with your coaches, like our new staff is unbelievable. I'm super grateful for them, and it's been really helpful. They've helped me a lot in terms of my mentality and just kind of keeping me sharp, which has been awesome.
That's something I noticed too. Like when you won in the finals, you and Ayers are pointing at each other, and I'm like, you know what? The culture must be really good. The transition must be really going really well, because you all looked on the same page, and a lot of you wrestled really well.
Yeah, he does a really good job of firing us up. He does a really good job. I was literally just talking to a few people about it. Our staff is so diverse in terms of what they bring for us. Every kid is different when they compete. Everyone needs something different, and it's funny. Ayers brings this intensity that I love, and I kind of need in between. In the semis match, in between, he's looking at me when there's like a close call on the takedown. I got it with like a second left maybe, but they were reviewing it, and we were in the middle. And he looks at me. He goes, "You want this match to go overtime?" And I was like, "No, I don't." So just that kind of thing of he just knows how to fire you up and get you going. And then I'm out there with Deacon, and he's kind of messed with me before. He's like, "You should probably go out there and try to score some points." And I just laughing and keeping it in a joking, calm manner. But he fires me up, and I knew once I won, I was like, "Hey, like this is our time." We have this thing. It's called the Gold Rush, and I think that's the epitome of what's going on right now. We're finding it, so we're gonna keep finding it. And then here in March, we're gonna have an even better one. So I'm excited.
You held that one up right after you won. Looked at Flo, held the one up. I instantly tweeted. I said, "To me, you're the number one. It's very clear. You and Camacho both undefeated. You both have wins over Matt Ramos, but you have 4 ranked wins." Was that the thought holding up the one, that in your mind, obviously you think you are the best, you feel you're the best? Do you feel like this season so far you've kind of proved that you deserve to be number one?
It's an interesting concept. I believe rankings are whatever. We saw it this year. What was I, 30 or something coming into this? I don't know. But
Blame Willie. Blame Willie.
Right? It doesn't matter, right? It's like it's at the end of the day, it's just a number. But if we're talking resume and whatever, I thought, if say I didn't win it this weekend, whoever came out of this field on top should have been number one, regardless. And it happened to be me, and I knew I had the confidence going in that I'm ready to do it. So that's a little like mental thing of I get that hand raised, and they knew what to do. So I think in the most humble way possible. Yeah, I think number one spot.
Right.
So, well, you have you're going to be in the mix. Tomorrow the rankings will come out, and whether you're number 1 or number 2 or number 3, you're going to be up there somewhere. And then you have some good matches coming up. You have returning All-American Ventresca coming up on your schedule. You have Ramos coming up, and you'll hit Richie Figs. So if you're not number 1 tomorrow, you're going to have the path to get there relatively soon.
That's what gets me excited. I think.
Yeah,
it was, like I was saying, it's still early, but I got a lot of. We got a nice schedule here soon, so I'll get the test, and I think I'm ready. I'm ready for the test. I'm ready for whoever gets in front of me.
That's what we were saying just before you joined. That typically one of the things that we love about a tournament like this is a guy like you in the Pac-12 historically doesn't have the best opportunity throughout the season to get those ranked wins. Like where if you're in the Big Ten, let's say 141, they have 4 out of the top 5 guys. There's constantly those opportunities to wrestle the ranked guys. But you do have, in 2 weeks, you'll have Ramos. Like you said, there's a lot of good opportunities coming up for you. Are there certain dates that you kind of have circled on the calendar coming up?
I honestly, I'm not a big, date circle guy. I'm a just like every day, just prepare, as if we always crack a joke. If we, before Cliff Keen, it was probably like a week or two before Cliff Keen, I was like, hey, if Cliff Keen was tomorrow, would you be ready? So that's kind of the question. That's kind of how you gotta be. So, I mean, I know the dates. I know I have, Virginia Tech on the 17th, which I'm excited for. I mean, every single match I'm excited for. Southern Scuffle will be a lot of fun. Be another good test. Now we have Mizzou late January. We got the Penn duels, Penn and Drexel. So that'd be fun. I think, like I said, 25 this year is super, super open, and everyone. I mean, there's a lot of guys who can win it, but you gotta have that confidence that it's gonna be you. So whoever lines up against me it is what it is. I'm ready to take it. So.
Stanford has a different academic calendar, does it not?
Yeah, so we're actually a quarter school. So typically schools are semesters, but we're quarters. So actually during Cliff Keen, it's our finals week is coming up here soon. So
that's what I was getting at.
So, but that's the kind of
when Cliff Keen take Stanford finals back-to-back weekends. that's a schedule.
The other thing too is when I look at the Stanford schedule, there's a lot of talk. We were talking about earlier, Richie Figs. He's a top 5 guy. A lot of high rankings for him. You could wrestle him 3 times in theory within a month. You have Arizona State duel the February 17th, then you have Pac-12 championships, then you have NCAA championships. So you really do have a lot of opportunities this year. It's fun to talk rankings. I think they're great for fans to kind of see who lines up, who's the favorite. They're great from that standpoint. But everything's going to work itself out with how many times, with that weight being so wide open and all the opportunities we get to see this year, I think it's going to be a fun weight to watch the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, country will be on notice. Tune in for sure. I mean, the Pac-12 at 25 is pretty strong. So we'll, we got a lot of opportunities, and we're going to wrestle each other a bunch. So, it's good. It's actually it's nice to be able to have these tough guys in the conference, especially when NCAAs and we got to wrestle the other top guys in the country. It's like elevating each other, which is good. So strong, right? Last year the Pac-12. So we'll see.
Yep.
I got a sad question.
What do you got?
How much do you miss Chenzo being out there?
Oh man, he's the man. I saw him in at the tournament. I'll always miss that dude, man. He's awesome. We had a good relationship, so he's the man.
I was texting him. We texted the same exact time during one of your matches, and I wasn't sure. We're both so busy lately that sometimes like one of us is tuning into the other. I think it was your match with Tarakina, and I'm like, yo, did you see Nico, how good he looked? And he's texting me at the same time, Nico Provo.
Yeah, he's someone who believed in me, early in my, right out of high school. He always kept telling me, keep working, and it's gonna show. And then he was super excited, but like I said, he still keeps me humble, so I gotta keep on keeping on. So I'm
sure he's really excited for you and Figs to wrestle.
I'm sure he is too. Yeah, he's excited for all the ASU and Stanford matches coming up soon. So I'll make sure to give him something to be excited for.
I love it.
So.
Will, you got anything else for Nico before we let him go? Move on.
No, I'm just I'm proud of you, and keep it rolling. And it sounds like you're in the right mindset where you're, not focused on the micro levels, but just being prepared every day. And I think that's a good mindset. So keep it up, bud.
Right. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you guys, and Thank you again for having me.
We love having you on, man. Go win another big tournament. Go win another big duel. Let's get you on here some more. Always love showcasing the best. And just, I don't know if you saw the tweet, because I don't know if you're on Twitter, because I found a Nico Provo on Twitter, but it's from like 2013 and it's got a Penn State Twitter header.
I'm not really a Twitter guy, but people have been sending me screenshots and telling me about it.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I don't want to start the is he going to Penn State transfer portal rumors? So I saw that.
When I was younger, Nico Megaludis, Nico did a camp, and we both are NICO. So I was a big Penn State fan growing up.
I love it. But, all right,
yeah.
Nico, we'll talk soon, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. Congrats on the big weekend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, see you, man. Nico's such a great kid. You gotta love that kid.
Man. Good kid. I mean, and I think he's like one of the new examples of how the New England states are producing some guys.
Yeah, I don't even know where he's from. He just because I don't follow the high school wrestling too much until somebody like recruits somebody. Like Vincenzo was so high on him when he was out there. So high on him. He was really good. He's from Connecticut. He's really good. I think he made Fargo finals. He placed at Super 32, and then people that follow high school knew he was really good, right? But then he went to junior trials, I think it was junior trials the year it was in Lincoln. It's kind of funny because I'll never forget. I don't think anybody will ever forget who was there. It was the year it was at Lincoln, and it was like the day that all this stuff started circulating about Cole going to Stanford. But anyway, it was at that tournament that Nico was beating like college guys, and like people that don't follow high school hardcore started waking up and being like, "Who is this kid?" Yeah,
right. And so that was a big eye opener for a lot of people. Even myself included. Anytime you know that there's guys that are really good in high school, you don't know how it's going to translate. You don't know if can they beat college guys right now. And Nico was doing that, and I think that woke a lot of people up. But yeah, him and then Tyler Knox, his teammate at 133, who did he beat? Buzakis on the front side, and then he ended up placing. He's Massachusetts, so they got a Connecticut and a Massachusetts guy back to back. It's good. It's good for to encourage that area. Like, hey, we're doing good things. Yeah, I agree. All right, any final thoughts for 25? We'll move on to 33 since you brought up Knox. Final thoughts for 25. I thought that Provo, because sometimes you get results and you're like, okay, that was a good win, right? Yep. But I wouldn't pick it again. But I thought Provo kind of put it to bed, really. I mean, like, here's his scores: 13-6, 12-5 over Terrakina, 8-1 over Ramos, 8-1 over Volk, 5-1 over Unger. Those three straight ranked wins where he only let up a point. Like, that's why he didn't get scored on. That's so crazy to me. It's like, listen, that's why for me he's won. Like, I'm looking at this and it's like he wrestled Terrakina great, and I was texting Chenzo and I'm like, man, if he keeps up the way he's wrestling, he looks unbelievable. And then he kept that up. At a weight class where things have been topsy-turvy, when you're like 8-1, 8-1, 5-1, and even the eyeball test, it's like, okay, it was decisive. He didn't win like fluky, right? So that's my thoughts. I also thought that Caleb Smith had a really good tournament. A lot of toughness out of him. He won a lot of matches late, either overtime or the last scramble. And he could be a guy. You talk about Nebraska and what their podium aspirations could be, or their team finish could be. Caleb Smith losing only one match. It was to Volk 4-2. Again, in this weight that's been topsy-turvy, if Caleb Smith be a blood round or an 8th place guy, 7th place guy. There are points that you didn't see for Nebraska coming into the season.
100%.
And let me also say, Tanner Jordan from South Dakota State. Last week he beat Patrick McKee. This week he loses to DeAugustino. He beats Spratley, loses to DeAugustino, and takes 8th. And so the win over Spratley coupled with the win over McKee.
Well, he beat Spratley twice. He beat him on the front side and the back side, and then he beat Ramos on the back side.
He did? I thought
he wrestled.
He lost to Ramos in the 7-8.
In the what?
I'm talking about Tanner Jordan.
Oh, I thought we were talking Caleb Smith still.
Oh, no. I was saying Caleb Smith, stock up. I think Tanner Jordan, stock up too.
Yeah. I was I got distracted on the bracket looking at Caleb Smith. I didn't realize how many good wins he had on the backside. Taking out Spratley, then Ramos, then, DeAugustino medical forfeited, and then he beat Kaler, comes back, takes 3rd.
Yeah. So
yeah, Caleb Smith, stock up for sure.
Smith. Yep. And Tanner Jordan, it gives him another South Dakota State. It gives them another fighting chance at a weight. Last week in Crystal Ball, I had 3 AAs for them. I had Cade Devos, Cale Carlson, and Tanner Sloan. I had Bennett Berge on the bubble, and he took a bad loss this week. So, but he could get it together, right? Tanner Cook could get it together. So right now they have 3 solid AA contenders, and they have 3 other guys, maybe 4, that could contribute significant points. Actually, Derek Cardinal placed here, right? And Swenson. And so South Dakota State is sneaky good.
Yeah, I agree. Sneaky good. This, too, is one of those weights that, Oreen, we kind of talked about how good he's looked, and he kind of lived up to it. He didn't do anything fantastic, but I thought his win over Frost looked very good, was solid, and just going consistently through the weight. Oreen continue. You want to talk stock up? I think Oreen he had a great tournament. I was kind of bummed once we learned Fix wasn't going to be there, but it was still some good matchups.
Yeah. Other than Oreen, I didn't learn much at this weight.
Yeah.
I learned that Nick Bouzakis has a lot of guts to get majored in his round 1 and then come back and take 3rd. I learned that Tyler Knox is probably pretty good. I learned that Evan Frost is probably pretty good. But there's nothing like, I don't know. I didn't learn a whole heck of a lot. The order that these guys came out, other than maybe Bouzakis, who stubbed his toe, it's pretty much what I thought maybe would happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, 41.
Originally, you're supposed to have Vito and Fix, so
right.
You lose the ability, to see who wins between Vito and Fix, and you lose the ability, not that you expect anybody to beat those two, but at least to see where they are at in terms of those benchmarks.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was telling I had a call with Gary Abbott today over how ticked off I've been about the senior national registrations. I'm talking about promotion and marketing and how it's kind of changing. And one of the things I love about the registrations is that once you know who's going to be at a tournament, it helps you build the storylines. Because for the last 3-4 years, we've seen this huge shift where it's like, oh, man, Fix isn't going. Oh, man, Vito's not going. Great. Yeah. Just let us know 2-3 weeks before who is going and who isn't, and we can build the storylines.
You tell us a week before, like Vito, right? Like Vito's not going. We know a week out or 5 days out. We accept it because we move on and we build other storylines. Okay, how does this affect this? Okay, but we can look at, bummer that Vito isn't going to be there, but we can look forward to this, right? you just show up and then like the brackets just pop up with no entry list or anything, and then we find out that guys aren't there. Now that's when you take some heat.
No, I agree, 100%. 41 started getting interesting though.
Yeah,
41 for me, Jesse freaking Mendez. He would be probably my. I honestly put him. I know you said younger Bastida might be your tournament MOW. I would probably honestly go Mendez too. I mean, Mendez, who bonused his whole way until he met Ryan Jack in the finals. But, I mean, here we're talking, we really talked up Hardy Mendez. And here Mendez goes out and freaking majors him.
Yeah.
After teching Vince Cornella.
The difference, what Jesse Mendez did was awesome. And his 100% bonus rate on the year is just insane. You know, they wrestled Tech. They wrestled a couple good ones, and now Cliff Keenan, he bonus through. Or it was 100 until the finals.
Yeah.
I think the difference in my perception, while I would say younger over Jesse for like wrestler of the week, is kind of because I love Jesse. And I knew this was in him, right? I didn't know where Younger stood at heavyweight. I mean, you're talking about a guy that didn't AA last year at 97.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Going up into the heavyweight, and I'm like, what to really make of Younger? And he passed with flying colors to me. So for that reason, I guess it's because I have Jesse. I've always had Jesse way up here. Like,
yeah, same. I've always been high on him.
Yeah. So, but
I will say one quick note is that people were in the comments. Somebody had mentioned it was a worthy comment. They said neither of us were putting much respect on Lachlan McNeil. Neither of us picking him to win. He's the 1 seed, and the tournament kind of played out how I thought, and probably how you thought it was gonna be, with the winner of Hardy Mendez winning the tournament. So it's funny how that comment kind of worked itself out. And I had said, like, I don't think McNeil wins this tournament. If he does, I think next time he gets that respect of that expectation of winning a tournament like this.
Lachlan's real solid. And again, another freshman last year, like if you looked at his results, regular season, they weren't eye-popping, but he figured it out when he needed to figure it out. He got it done at the dance. Let me see. Lachlan was 4th last year, but he had 7 losses coming into NCAAs, you know?
Yeah. His win over Etchemendy in the quarters was great. It was a 9-6 win. I thought that was a good win for him.
I'll tell you what, I am very, very bullish on Etchemendia. We're talking about a kid that had a rough, rocky road. First of all, he's a pure freestyler. Then he has a rocky, then he goes 33. Then he's out at Ohio State. He's sort of in limbo for a while. Then he comes back. Now, he's going to be up at 41. Then he's 49. Then he's back at 41. But how's his mat game? How's his lungs? Dude, when you go through a grueling tournament like this, an absolute grueling tournament, going 9-6 with the returning 4th, okay? This is a 3-3 match, or this is a 6-6 match with 20 seconds to go. You won, right? You lost, but that's good for your future, okay? So you're going 7 minutes with Lachlan. You lose to Happel. You major Vince Cornella. I just think he wrestled 6 matches. He went 4-2. He went toe-to-toe with Lachlan. He took 7th. He beat a guy that we had projected very high in Cornella. And I think Etchemendia, okay, he's a thing.
And hey, we haven't really talked about the team title. We did talk about Michigan kind of flopping, but on the opposite end of the spectrum there, Iowa State, phenomenal rebound from the Cyhawk duel. And, Etchemendia going 4-2, that helped. That helped get that team title.
It certainly helped. Can we save the team chase talk or the team title talk to the end? Because I got some.
Oh yeah,
I got some perspective on that.
Yeah, we'll save it.
When we wrap it all up. Now, in the same way, I will say that from the team side, Nebraska was Brock Hardy away from winning the team title. I mean, Brock Hardy takes third instead of sixth. They probably tie.
And it's funny because Nebraska had 2 champs and NC State had 2 champs, but Iowa State only had 1 champ, but they had 3 in the finals, which helped.
Until the second to the last match, Iowa State had 0.
Yeah.
If there was a scenario, one time there was a situation where if Lenny Pinto beats Plott for third and Younger loses, the team title would have been tied, or Nebraska might have won. So that's how deep it came down to.
Yeah.
Now, both the opposite happened. Pinto lost, so he didn't get his points, and Younger won, so he did. So that sewed it up for Iowa State. But that's how late the title chase came down to. Just an awesome year.
I wish we could bet on team races.
So do I. I wish we could bet on all kinds of things wrestling.
FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN Bet. If you guys are listening, please, Caesars.
I'll set the lines.
Give us access.
All right. 49. What were your thoughts at 49? Ridge Levitt over Caleb Henson in the finals.
My main takeaway at 49 was, first of all, we had said that, I think we mentioned Kozak predicting Henson to win it all, which he lost the whole tournament by a single point. So we had said that could happen. Kozak picked him to win. You had said that's, a sneaky good pick. And Henson was right there. But my main takeaway was one of the things that I had said in the preview show is Ridge Levitt, we haven't really seen him in 18 months. Is he still
I think that's a good pick. It's an acceptable pick.
With Ridge, we haven't seen him in 18 months. How does he look? Is he still that caliber of guy that can go out on Saturday night in March and win an NCAA title? And my takeaway was yes. He was down early 3-0 to Kinner, storms back, wins 13-6. Majors D'Amelio 11-0, doesn't let up a point, and then takes out a very scrappy Caleb Henson, who Caleb Henson's freaking gas tank is crazy, and Ridge Levitt shuts him down and wins. So my main takeaway, Ridge Levitt, he's the real deal. If there was any doubt.
Him and Peyton Robb, and I think it was on display in the finals. What I'm about to say about Peyton Robb was a little bit more obvious than Ridge, because Ridge did have some hiccups in there. But they're almost perfect at every moment. Like Peyton Robb's not flashy, but man, he does what he's supposed to do at every second almost. And Ridge, he gave up a takedown, and he was, in a scramble on another one. But most of the time he's in really good position and really safe and very complete. Like, if you talk about like complete wrestlers can take you down, can ride, can turn. I think Ridge and P. Rob, maybe Starocki, are in that conversation. They're just doing the right things at every moment. And I know, some people would say, well, Henson might have had a danger count in there. Well, Ridge should have had 2 on the edge in that turn. All right. So yeah. So if on one hand and also if on the other, again, with that close apron, not a lot of mat space. If that was anywhere near, if the table wasn't there, that was going to be too near fall. Yeah. But you also have to remember, one of the big, you talk about big, oh my God, this is significant. Not that it was an oh my God, but it is utterly significant. Henson beating Parko 5-0. I mean, that's a big result. And I'm really impressed with Caleb Henson's ability last year and trajectory. He's even getting better. When he came out of high school, I thought to myself, he's going to be solid. You know, I had him high on the big board. He's going to be solid, but how good is he going to? He might just be a dog. He might just be really tough to score on and stingy, and I knew he had that in him. What I didn't know was how dangerous he was offensively. Could he consistently get to legs? Could he score on you a lot? And the answer is absolutely yes. Caleb Henson is really good.
Yeah, I'd say so. I agree. That was a solid win, you know, and he's young. You know, he's only a sophomore. We've got a lot of Caleb Henson left. Yeah.
True sophomore.
Yeah, that was my main takeaway of 49.
Swiderski kind of beating the guys he should beat. And maintaining like, okay, he's a outside AA threat. He beat Jaden Scott. He beat Jaden Abbas in a barn burner. Lost to Parco 4-2. Lost to D'Amelio in a barn burner. So good performance by him. Abbas got beat by Swiderski, and then Michael forfeited out. But you know, again, we're talking about Iowa State losing in heartbreaking fashion to Iowa, coming and winning the Cliff King title, and those guys that we had earmarked. Well, we'll talk about one more at the next weight, but Frost did really well. Baschamania did really well. Swiderski did really, really well. And, you know, Frost did really well, but didn't hit the top guys. Chittum didn't do great, but his competition was much harder. So, you know, if those guys are clicking in March, Iowa State's dangerous.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. So I guess that's a good lead into 57. You know, you had Chittum, you had Shapiro, you had these guys who, you know, we were talking about, could they produce chaos? And it kind of fizzled out quick. Shapiro beats Andonian 16-4 and then loses to Cardenas in the next round. And it was kind of a quick, he's the real deal, to, oh, he's beatable. Like, it was kind of a real quick fan roller coaster.
It was. And
Cardenas beats them both.
Even kind of with Chittum.
Yeah.
Even kind of with Chittum, right? Like, Chittum was a bit of a roller coaster because Danny Ninny in his opening match has a lead on Chittum. You're like, maybe Ninny can beat Cody. And then Cody comes back and beats him decisively 11-5. And then Chittum is in a fight with Cardenas, and you're thinking Chittum might win that. Okay, if Chittum beats Cardenas, now he's really like flirting with blood round status, and he loses to Cardenas, and then he loses to Andonian and doesn't place. So, moral of the story is, to me, that Chittum's right there. Chittum, it wasn't a bad performance.
They're young. So they're going to take some losses. We're never going to see another Cal Sanderson. We're never going to see another 159-0. There's a lot of great talent coming up, and guys are going to take losses. You know, we've said it a million times over the past month. Nobody who lost this weekend, there's a reason we're only saying stock up. We're not saying stock down. It's early in the season. These guys are getting matches. It is not stock down for Shapiro. It is not stock down for Chittum. I think these guys are getting great matches under the belt, and I think it's only going to help them more when it counts.
Yeah, which is sort of the message to programs that don't go in tough tournaments early in the year. Why not? It's only going to help prepare your guys later. It's only going to give you information on your guys on what to work on or fix, or, you know, what you can do better.
Yep.
And the way the seeding works, it can only help you, right? The wins are going to help you get seeded higher, and the losses aren't. That's just the way the seeding works. And I don't blame him for doing that, but well, in a lot of cases, but why not? Why not go in tough tournaments?
Yeah. But so then,
another guy here though. Well, let's talk about Meyer. He goes out there and barnstorms Andonian,
which was a great win.
16-4. 16-4. 6-2 at the end of the first. 10-2 at the end of the second. But then against Cardenas, he just, I don't know. He didn't look right. He didn't, his body language wasn't good. His expressions weren't good.
Was it just me, or did the wrestleback seem very quick after the front side?
You know, Earl was talking about that too. Earl had a tweet today. He's like, you know, it was really quick. The turnaround was quick, and maybe it affected some of the results. Bro, it's quick for the other guy too.
I didn't see the Shapiro-Chumbley match in the backside, and someone brought up to me that Shapiro looked a little tired, and I'm like, I didn't. It seemed like they were a little. It happened a little quick where I didn't even see the match happen, but I was curious your thoughts on that.
To me, Shapiro didn't look right in the second half of the Cardenas match. So if you're saying, well, the quick turnaround had Shapiro flustered, that flustered came before that.
Sure.
Go watch the end of the Cardenas match. He didn't look right. So, but that being said, I think Meyer. Also, I remember Flo saying on FRL one time, they said, like, who's Trevor Chumbley? And like, Trevor Chumbley's not bad. I had Chumbley like 74 on the big board. Like, he was a known thing. He's not bad at all. He was a thing in high school. So, not that you would predict Meyer losing 2-1. You wouldn't predict Meyer not scoring a takedown. You wouldn't predict him losing Chumbley. You wouldn't predict him wrestling a match where he doesn't score a takedown, and you wouldn't predict a 2-1 match out of him. But I think he'll be fine. If anything, it's like just pump the brakes real quick. We all know he's great. He's great. Meyer Shapiro is great, and he's going to be fine. But he didn't have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Another big early, nobody talks about this too, is that Joey Blaze went 1-2.
Well, I was just gonna say Chumbley beat Blaze too.
Yeah. So both of the true freshmen in this bracket that we were like, hey, keep an eye on, they could be serious, make a serious splash. They both didn't place, and Chumbley beat both of them. And that's after Blaze. Who did Blaze? It's not like we were just hyping Blaze, because it wasn't all just what he did in high school. Because he had a good win this year. Who did he beat this year? He beat Ed Scott. He beat Ed Scott this year. So, again, I think he'll be fine. He'll figure it out. But you gotta earn your stripes. There was a lot to talk about here, man. Ryder Downey didn't place, but he beat Patty Gallagher, who did place, and he beat Chumbley. What a weekend! He beat Chumbley and Gallagher, and then lost to Teamer and Scott. And Scott lost to Peyton Keller of Ohio. Peyton Keller had a really good weekend. But listen to Scott's run. He loses second round of Peyton Keller, beats Ninny, beats Askey, beats Ryder Downey, beats Chumbley, beats Luan, beats Andonian 18-7.
Yeah, that was I saw you tweet about him, didn't you? Talking about the backside matches.
You know what? I didn't mention. I was Buzakis and Caleb Smith who both.
Yeah.
I should have put Ed Scott's name in there too, because you're losing to a guy that not highly ranked at the time, and then coming back and majoring a conference rival in All-American for third. So that was really good. But, we've been talking about 157 for 10 minutes, and we haven't mentioned Peyton Robb. But again, just always in the right positions. P-Rob went Tech over Jaden Lee, Tech over Legend Lamer, 10-0 over Cale Swenson, 8-2 over Luan, who he was previously 0-2 against, and 6-4 over Teamer. Gave up one takedown the entire tournament. No, did he? Did he give up a takedown to Teamer?
I don't remember.
Yes. Teamer got the first one real quick.
Yeah, and Teamer did. I thought this weight went chalk, but Rob has definitely established himself as a forerunner at this weight. But Teamer, I think, in a room like Arizona State has that is riddled with injuries and guys not being 100%, Teamer does look back to Teamer. He does look very good. And if you're an Arizona State fan, obviously you wanted Teamer to win that one, but you still got to be happy with how good and healthy he looked all weekend.
Sure. I thought Teamer wrestled great. There's a thing with Ridge and P-Rob where their top riding ability changes the dynamics of the match. You almost can't go under them. And maybe they should have went under him. Maybe they shouldn't. A Teamer, that is. But it's an edge, right? You have an edge there because you don't get the escape point. And if you do go under, you're looking at, or if you even get taken down, it's like immediately, if you get taken down by Ridge or P-Rob, you're like, that's so 3 points
on top.
Yeah. It's 3 points. You're going to be staring at a riding time deficit, and certainly the eating up of the clock, and you don't have ability to score. So it's a big game changer. Ben Askren on FRL was talking about, with a 3-point takedown, has the incentive or the gravity of riding on top been lessened. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was like, no. It has not been. Well, it might have been lessened, but it hasn't gone away. And Piles was disagreeing with them. And at the time, I couldn't really put my finger on why, but I'm like, no, it's still important. It's still a thing. And I think Peyton Robb and Ridge Lovett showed you why, because even though there's 3-point takedowns, riding on top was critical in both those matches.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, 65.
Yeah, so first things first, your boy David Carr, my boy David Carr too. I love David Carr.
Yeah, I was bummed for Carr. We both said Carr next topic, and then he goes out and loses a close one to Ramirez. Second regular season loss of his career is yet again in the CKLV semifinals. Such a weird stat.
Yeah, Julian has that ability, man. Julian has the ability to beat anybody on any given day. He has the ability to beat anybody on any given day. The problem is he can beat a David Carr, but then lose and score 0 takedowns against Olenek, right? He can beat a Quincy Monday 2 or 3 times during a season and then lose to, who did he lose to? At NCAAs, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He can lose a close one, but he can win a close one. He's ultra athletic. He's difficult to take down. He's tough in scrambles.
Yeah, and this is one of those weights where I'm not nearly as curious, but for the people listening who would be, as a ranker, college or not, what do you think about this weight in terms of rankings? One of the only interesting things for me is I think we've kind of talked about how O'Toole and Carr have separated themselves from the pack. Doesn't mean they, won't take a loss here or there, but I think Saturday night in March, you're going to see O'Toole Carr. And so the only real thing is, could there be separation where you end up with Carr 4? That'd be the only real thing I think matters. I think if
you're talking about, could we possibly see, because of that loss and seeding purposes, could we see Carr on the same side?
Correct.
I think it'll come out in the wash. I think it'll come out in the wash that Carr will either resume being number 2 or at the worst be number 3.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's too hard for these guys to go. I mean, even now, right? How would you seed it now? Because Julian didn't go unscathed. Julian got beat by Olenek, so you can't put. I mean, right now, with the way things are, you'd have to say O'Toole 1, Olenek 2, Julian 3, and have David behind them. But there ain't no, like, Julian's not going to go undefeated the rest of the year. Olenek's not going to go undefeated the rest of the year, right? So I think it'll work itself out.
Yeah. But that was pretty much a story for me at 57 or 65 was Carr taking the loss, and then Ramirez taking the loss in the following round. Those were kind of two.
I'll tell you somebody that needs a shout out. Bad.
Give him a shout out. That's what the show's for.
Garrett Thompson of Ohio. My man, you are doing the damn thing. 2 weeks ago, he beat Peyton Hall. Here he wins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 2. 6 and 2 to take 5th. With wins, his losses were David Carr and Cam Amin. He beat Connor Brady, Matt Olguin, and Hunter Garvin. Justin Basch, this is a kid that never qualified for the state tournament.
You brought him up in the previous show, I think.
Unbelievable. Just talk about, working your way into being a good wrestler. This dude has obviously put in the work.
Yeah. Shout out Garrett Thompson. Love to see it.
And that made a couple places for the Fighting Greenleys of Ohio. 174, another former national champ goes down. Shane Griffith losing to
his alma
Lorenzo
mater.
Norman. Yeah.
Do we consider Stanford his alma mater?
Yeah, I do. I think he graduated.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, Shane goes down, and then Norman from Stanford beats him, and then loses the next round. That weight, if you look at that top, it's always funny to me when this happens. I don't know why. It just shows you how tough the sport is. Starting with the round of 16, Griffith loses to Norman. Next round, Norman loses to Wask. Next round, Wask loses to Whitlake. Next round, Whitlake loses to Devos. It's crazy when that happens, where each guy advances and loses.
That's why I always talk about wrestling. The beauty of a tournament like Cliff Keen, or some years of Scuffle, or some years Midlands, and certainly the NCAAs. The beauty of it is, and the reason we may tune in, the reason we're all excited without knowing it, is because there are so many guys that have the ability to beat a guy. They're good enough to beat a guy, given the circumstances of a 7-minute match. But to string them together is unlikely, right? Mm-hmm. So you get these results where it's like, this guy beats this guy, but can he string them together? And most of the time, the answer is no. And that's what causes chaos. And that top half of that bracket was total chaos.
Yeah, and maybe I think it's DeVos. I don't think it's DeVos, whatever. I know somebody's going to yell at me for saying that wrong. But he looked absolutely great all weekend. He looked great.
He did 10-2 major over Gatan. Well, he went tech fall, major decision over Gatan, 11-8 over Karchla, 9-7 over Whitlake, and AA Karchla, AA Whitlake. Karchla, that would be his only loss. So he clearly beat the two best other guys in the bracket. And as I was saying about SDSU earlier, sneaky good team.
Yeah.
Sneaky good team. And Devos, I've been saying Devos for 100 years. So
I know I feel like I go back and forth and I just keep saying each one.
There was maybe, I don't know.
Whose name do you think you got the most wrong?
Maybe 2012, there was a kid named Eric DeVos. or Devos or however you say it. But I've been saying Devos since then. He was really good in high school, and this is like a cousin or a brother. I don't know.
Whose name do you think you've mentioned wrong the most?
Well, I say Shapiro
I do too.
about 50% of the time, even though I know it's Shapiro. So I think
do the same thing.
Shapiro is the name I mess up the most and will always be.
Yep. Yeah, it's Shapiro.
Because I know what it is and I still mess it up. But Devos, Whitley, Karchla, Wask, Sal Perrine, another Ohio Bobcat, Austin Murphy, Lorenzo Norman, MJ Gatan were your placers. Adam Kemp, some of the guys that didn't place, Adam Kemp, Kel Valencia.
I didn't see the
74.
I didn't see the Kemp match, but he injury defaulted out during the Whitlake match.
Yeah. He's another guy that's shown a lot of promise, but again,
Yep.
stringing them together is tough. But not a lot of surprises at 74. 84, there were some interesting bouts. Keckeisen, kind of a guy that we expected to go wire to wire, but he went through the tournament wire to wire.
But I feel like he also I don't think I gave him enough credit after the Truax win. I had said that I think Truax's gas tank kind of gave out, but Parker looked this weekend like a national champ.
Listen, Bernie Truax has been one of the best stories in wrestling for the last couple of years. I think he's uber athletic. I think he's capable. I think Kale Sanderson makes the best adjustments during the season and certainly in the postseason. And he's dangerous. I'm a next topic guy at 84. And I disagree. I don't think Bernie's lungs gave out. I think Parker gassed him out.
No, I agree, but I'm saying I didn't give him enough credit initially because I said it was more Bernie not being prepared. Now after this weekend, I'm like, oh no. Parker just put it on him. Like Parker, if you watch him this weekend, he looked great. He had that. Let's see, he had a pin, 20-5 tech, 13-3 major, beats Lenny Pinto 8-4. Beats Feldkamp, majors him 14-4. Looked great the entire weekend.
Yeah, and it continues to be incredible. Like at 184, the year that COVID canceled, Taylor Lujan, UNI, top seed. A couple years before that, 2 years before that, Drew Foster, national champ, 184, UNI. And now Parker Keckeisen, front runner for the national title, 184 UNI.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Lenny Pinto had a good tournament. He beats Dustin Plott in an old-fashioned old man chin back. Beats Dustin Plott 12-10. Plott gets revenge in a 3-4 match. Pinto's losses to Plott and Keckeisen. He wrestled Keckeisen decent 8-4. Plott, his only loss to Pinto. Sam Wolf from Air Force beats Foka and Hoffman. And Foka also lost to Aaron Azarov from Columbia, Jersey boy. So Foka, rough weekend. And we were talking about him last week and him moving up. And I don't know. I cannot write Chris Foka off. I can't, as bad as those two losses were, and they're bad. I just feel like something's off on the weekend for Foka.
And Wolf he beat Hoffman, then he took back-to-back losses. He lost to Plott on the backside, and he lost to Feldkamp on the front side. Another interesting point. I don't know what you make of it, but who was it? So Feldkamp takes out Munoz.
Yeah.
And then on the backside, Munoz drops one to who was it?
Fishback.
To Fishback, who you were saying beforehand I think you're either talking about him to me offline or in the preview show about Sneaky Good. And
right.
then,
I mean, he took 7th. He beat Fishback. I mean, he beat Munoz. He only lost on the front side a close one, 4-1 in overtime to Lenny Pinto. So, really good tournament for NC State's Dylan Fishback.
yeah.
Gavin Kane. I mean, there's 2 AAs, actually 3 AAs, right? So Gavin Kane AA didn't place it this weight. Gavin Hoffman AA didn't place it this weight. Oh, Munoz AA didn't place it this weight. And Foca AA didn't place it this way. There are 4 All-Americans that didn't place it this weight.
And
That's
then you
insane.
have Parker, again, establishing himself head and shoulders above the field.
Right.
197.
Yeah, yep. The big one here, Jackson Smith over Tanner Sloan in the semis 8-2. Georgia boy getting it done over the top seed. Jacob Cardenas teched all red. Hidley then majors Cardenas 10-2 and Hidley in a sort of controlled 5-2 win over Smith in the finals.
Which we both picked. We both said after Bill Farrell, the way Trent Hidley's looking right now, it's hard to pick against him. And sure enough, whether Jackson Smith or Tanner Sloan, whoever he was going to wrestle in the finals, I think that was Hidley's tournament. He looked great. The 10-2 win over Cardenas was very impressive to me.
Yeah.
Especially after the Cardenas goes out, tech's all red. And then Hidley goes out and majors him.
Yep, 2 first period takedowns for him in that one. All red. When All Red lost, he lost big. But when, so he gets a pin. He gets 11-2 major over Evan Bates. Then he gets teched by Cardenas, techs Wyatt Volker, techs Joey Novak, gets majored by Sloan, and then beats Sonny Sasso 8-5. So one way or another, there were points going on the board in Silas All Red matches.
Yeah.
But that was probably the least surprising weight, right? I mean, the only real thing of note was Smith over Sloan. And heavyweight, we had the 2 top seeds. The 2 top seeds make the finals. Younger Bastida over Lucas Davidson. Davidson being the top seed and the only All-American in the bracket. And Younger really showing he belongs. Now up at heavyweight after being at 97 last year. Tech over Peter Ming. 11-4 over Jack Jessen. Major over Nick Feldman, one of the top prospects this year. Tech over Grady Grice of Navy, and a 5-3 decision over former All-American or returning All-American Lucas Davison in a match where Younger got the only takedown.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it before, and this weight was honestly kind of boring. Once we lost Schultz and Wyatt, kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. And here, this final kind of leads us into a perfect segue about the team race, because Michigan underperformed, in my opinion, and Iowa State looked great. And here you had, Iowa State beating Michigan in the finals.
Okay, so let's talk about, this is a good segue to the team race. And to me, the emergence of Younger, the placings by Swiderski and Echemendia tell you that Iowa State has the ability to finish highly at NCAAs. They have that potential. They really have that potential. They won the tournament without Carr making the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So they even have a little bit more upside there. Chittum perhaps could have a better day, could have scored more points. So there's a little upside in that as well. Now, Here's the downside. Here's where you want to pump the brakes. If you're an analytical guy looking to say, okay, where's the hiddenness of this? Where did they win? How do they project? Here's the downside for Iowa State. They won the tournament, but Evan Frost got finals points, and he didn't hit a soul. Younger Bastida won the tournament, but the top 2 seeds dropped out, right? And so there's some, I don't want to say you need to pump the brakes just a touch, because as good as Evan Frost wrestled, and he looked great, he didn't have to go through that path to, look at the brackets, and you tell me who had the easiest path to the finals, right? Most of these weights were NCAA-like depth, but not Evan Frost's path, right? So to me, there's where the tournament was won and lost.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I'm looking back at Frost.
Yep.
Yeah.
You wrestle the tournament over again, and Chittum could place, and Tarakina might have a better day, and David Carr might not lose. But the hidden storyline in the team race was those points at 33.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, there were two things that turned this team race into what it was. 133 bottom half falling apart. 2, Brock Hardy semi-slide. Right? Brock Hardy doesn't semi-slide. It's even tighter. And again, the team race came down. It was not sewn up until there were 5 bouts to go in the whole tournament. Just an incredible team race. And when you're looking at the fine lines of things, you're looking at the finer points, those were how it was decided. Other things on the team side of things. Ohio State, 3, 4, 5, 6 placers. They took third, only 2 points back of Nebraska, and they were without Hepner, who would have been, who knows. Who else were they missing? Were they missing somebody else? No, not really. So Ohio State was pretty much intact. I think you would have hoped for a little bit of performance out of Luke Geog. NC State, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 placers, 2 champs, 115. Ed Scott coming back for third. Hidley and winning it. Jack was second, right? And who was their other champ? So NC State, they took fourth of the 115 points and 6 placers, and they were without Jacob Camacho, who some people say,
number
our top
guy in the country.
Top 4 guy, maybe number 1. I'll tell you who did really well. Oregon State was 5th with 5 placers. That was sneaky good. I mean, say it out loud. Oregon State was 5 points better than Cornell in this tournament. Of course, Cornell was without Vito, and Foca could not have done worse, right? You wrestle that tournament again, Foca scores points.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, then you have Stanford 85.5 and Michigan at 8. Michigan had five placers, but they were only second, fourth, and 3 sixes. And the scary part about that is they were only really missing Cannon. I mean, you could say Rylan Rogers could have scored points, but at this point, Rylan Rogers is a freshman, right? So we don't know. That's Brian Snyder interrupted in our programming. But Michigan, I mean, they brought in 5 All-Americans and only had 6 placers and finished 8th. Now, of course, you probably don't expect history to repeat itself. You don't expect Shane to lose that early. Amin had the misfortune of David Carr losing early, but that's only really like one or two places. Who beat Amin on the front side?
I was just looking at it. I can't remember.
Olenek. Man, Olenek beat Amin and Ramirez.
Well, he had a great tournament.
Yeah. But, Michigan can come around. But it was probably about his worst. I mean, it was about the worst. It was about the worst outcome that Michigan could have had. So, while it was the worst, it can only be better because that's about.
And it's early in the season.
Every guy was on their floor as opposed to their ceiling. So, don't fret if you're Michigan. Oklahoma State 9th, South Dakota State 10th, Tech 11, who was missing Mackay and Latona. And it's just so crazy, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of this sport, where Eddie Ventresca can win the spot last year over a guy that was super promising like Cooper Flynn, and then he can go in the season and be like, and then he can light it up at NCAAs, and now he's like under 500. They got to get him right.
I have a non-CKLV point.
Okay.
Crookham looked great against Nagao.
Crookham looked great against Nagao, 2 takedowns to 0. And I said, if Crookham would take a loss to Nagao, or if McGonigal would wrestle instead of Crookham and beat Nagao, then you might still have some what should we do at Lehigh at 133 type talk. Bro, Crookham beat McGonigal. McGonigal beat Latona. Crookham beat Vito. Crookham beat Nagao. Stop. It's Crookham.
Yeah, I mean, Crookham now has 2 top 5 wins.
Insane.
Insane. He's 9-0, 66% bonus. Just
yeah.
Crookham.
How many times has he been taken down? Has
Good
Crookham?
Question.
Did Vito get one on him?
I don't remember.
I think Vito got one on him. But
you know who else looks sneaky good? While we're on the Penn State duel, real quick.
Yeah.
Kirkfleet continues to look good. Gets
really
an 11-1 major. He is wrestling like the last couple of years when he doesn't win a match that I'm bummed about. It's like this isn't Kirk. Kirk is wrestling like Kirk now.
Yeah. My thing with Kirk is, I don't know, his activity level is through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
He's not wrestling like a heavyweight. He's wrestling like a 74, or like he's taking low ankle shots, and he's taking a lot of shots, and he's turning people. And I'll never forget. I knew the results of Greg Kirkfleet, and I had heard a lot of talk from Minnesota people like, bro, this 7th grader is freaking unreal, right? So he goes to Super 32, and he's wrestling the high school bracket as a 7th grader, and it was the first or second round, and I'm like, all right, well, the studs in this tournament are gonna like blow their competition apart because it's first round and it's seeded well, and so I'm gonna go check out this 7th grader everybody's buzzing about in Minnesota. And he was wrestling like 160 or 170, and he had ginormous Donald Duck feet that didn't fit his body, and he's like just like gangly, and just this frame that just crazy. And like he knew what he was doing. You knew this kid was going to be good. He was a little bit not filled into his frame yet, and awkward and stuff, and he turned out to be one of the best in high school, and he goes to Penn State, and I always thought there was more for him to give.
And by the way, I say that he jumped levels
a little bit better.
He only lost to Paris last year. He lost all 3 times, but he lost in the dual Big Tens and NCAAs. But still, he's jumped levels.
Right.
He's wrestling like that potential, yeah.
His loss at Big Ten, to me, his one loss to Paris, he didn't give it his all. His other loss to Paris, I thought, what the hell are you doing? He lost to Cassiopeia a couple times where I just thought he just blew it, right? And now he is leaving no doubt. Like Cass used to be close, and there was a shot for Cass. Would you pick Cass? I mean, would it not be a next topic pick right now? The way Kirk is resting, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. Maybe a light bulb went on. Maybe it's just simply development. Maybe it's he's healthier than he's been in a long time. Whatever the case, Kirk is night and day from Kirk in the past.
Yeah, I agree. Any other final notes?
No. Just, man, I'm so fried. I got Ironman coming up this week. I'm going to put out rankings with an X next to the guy. I'm going to move wrestlers to ranking, so they're ranked at the weight that they're at Ironman. And so you get to see what the field might look like. You're going to lose your mind when you see 165 Justin Basch. You're going to lose your mind. Want to know who it is?
Tell me. You can't leave me hanging like that.
Angelo Ferrari, Joe Seeley, D. Lockett, Ethan Burden.
That's must-see TV.
And I'm missing one more giant guy. I can't believe Will Henkel. Dude, are you kidding me?
That's this weekend, right?
D. Lockett, Joe Seeley, Ethan Burden, Will Henkel.
Ferrari.
Bro. It's a who's number one.
Yeah, it's going to be a great tournament. Great tournament this weekend.
So be looking for the new rankings. Be looking for maybe a podcast or some kind of preview. Crystal Ball is going to come out this week after a ton of stuff. But what I'm getting at is between Ironman prep that I was doing last night and CKLV and scouring through those brackets and digesting all that, I don't even know what's coming up. What is this week? I don't even know.
I don't think there's anything on the college scene this week. I think it's a pretty normal, like Penn State wrestles Hofstra or something. Like a lot of just whatever. I don't think there's anything too crazy. Nothing that's on my radar.
We always have it. The Intermat forums always have this week what's coming up pinned to the top of the college board. So it's great. Thursday, Michigan State at Buffalo. Columbia at Iowa, Wyoming at Missouri, Lehigh Okie State Friday night. We could get Fix Crookup.
Ooh, will Fix wrestle?
I don't know. He's a little dinged up. We could get Fix Crookham Friday night. West Virginia Air Force, decent slate on Friday night. Iowa, you always have to watch. Yeah. Wyoming, Missouri, Lehigh Okie State, West Virginia Air Force. Saturday, Cleveland State Open, Army, Cleveland State, Kent State, Northwestern, VMI. Wisconsin at Rider, Central Michigan at Indiana, Wisconsin at Drexel. Sunday, Pitt, Ohio State, not bad. Hofstra at Penn State, Slaughter. At Navy, do you know what that's from?
No.
It's from The Office when Andy Bernard goes, want to come hang out with this week? Watch some football. Hofstra, Cornell, Slaughter. Navy at Ohio, Buffalo at Rutgers.
Is that the most rewatchable show in history?
I've seen every episode about 14 times.
It's just like once it ends, you just start it over. That and Modern Family.
Yeah. Columbia, Northern Iowa, Okie State, Oklahoma. It's Bedlam Week.
Bedlam.
Bedlam. Do you know how Bedlam got its name? Do you know how Bedlam? Do you know how?
You know what?
Do you
I
know
do, but I forgot the story. I've heard it.
the entomology, the entomology of Bedlam. The word Bedlam. Bedlam means chaos, craziness, bonkers, right? It comes from a town in England named Bethlehem, where they had an insane asylum.
That's right.
But the English town folk butcher pronunciations and say Bedlam. That's how the word got started, because English people can't pronounce stuff. Bedlam.
I just had a point now about this weekend and I forgot. You had said Bedlam. Oh, that's how my brain works. I was thinking Oklahoma State. I was thinking Sammy Alvarez, thinking Puerto Rico, thinking international. Roman Bravo Young this weekend made the cut to 57. Dude looked skinny.
He wrestled 57?
He looked lean. He wrestled in the Mexico.
I saw something come across my timeline, like Roman Bravo Young something, and I was like, oh, he competed internationally. But it was at 57?
It was at 57. He got 3 techs. He
made flat?
I don't know if it was +2 or not, but he made 57.
Oh, I hope it was flat. And
so that was the Mexican Grand Prix to basically determine who wrestles for Mexico for the Pan Am Olympic Games qualifier. So Roman sounds like he is officially in for Mexico for the Pan Am Olympic qualifier, which we also have to go to qualify the U.S. for
where
Olympics.
Is it?
Is it Acapulco?
Is it? It was last year, I think.
Was
but
it?
It could be again.
Thinking?
It could be again. I want to go.
Real quick.
Let's go. I hope it's somewhere warm like that.
I'd consider going. That sounds like fun. Let me see.
In December, when is it?
End of February. It's like the week before conference championships. It's
That's actually a great weekend.
Acapulco. The 28th through the 1st.
Again, so that's a great weekend to go because there's no college stuff going on. There is probably 4 million high school tournaments, state tournaments now. God. But it would be nice to go to Acapulco in February.
I know. End of February 28th through March 1st. Little warm up. We'll have to look into that.
I'm in West Coast. Whoop. Quick flight, boy.
Whoop, whoop. All right. That's Baschamania. We'll finish this with our travel plans in the next episode.
All right, guys.
All right, subscribe. Also, look out for all of Willie's shows coming up. A lot of Iron Man content. So I'll reshare it all. All right, that's it.
And the beat goes on.